From the Crawford County Jail is back in custody.
A massive heat wave envelops the entire Midwest, and we happen to be in the thick of it. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And the latest investor concerns as we enter a bear market.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
2 down, 1 to go. Authorities arrest a second inmate who escaped from the Berry County, Missouri jail earlier this month. This is KOAM News at Noon. I'm Tanya Bach, topping our first 7 minutes. The Berry County Sheriff's Office says Matthew Crawford was captured in Springfield yesterday. Crawford is the second of 3 escaped inmates brought back into custody. Christopher Blevins was arrested last week near Casper, Wyoming. But authorities are still searching for Lance Stevens. If you know anything about his whereabouts, you are asked to contact police. Well, police in Independence, Kansas opened an investigation to determine who helped an area hit-and-run suspect elude authorities for more than a week. Saturday night, Independence officers arrested Brian Metzger for suspicion of attempted murder. Metzger is accused of intentionally hitting another man with a car on June 2nd. And then on June 7th, police arrested 2 people for felony interference in the case. They're now seeking search warrants to gather more evidence and expect to make more arrests. Neosho police are looking for 21-year-old Dragon Charlton. He's a suspect in a number of recent sport bike thefts. Victims say Charlton contacts sellers, asks to test drive the bikes, and then takes them and never returns. If you have any information, please ask you to call Neosho Police. Voters in Columbus, Kansas are headed to the polls for a special election today. They're deciding whether to renew the 0.5% sales tax that's been in place since 1997. Sales tax goes to the police and fire department for water and sewer drainage and for other utilities. We'll have election results tonight on the KOAM News at 10. Well, if you're voting for a break in the heat, you may have to wait a little while longer. Michael Aislip joins us with the first look.
All the way past Father's Day into next week, Tanya. We're talking about 80 million people right now, either under a heat advisory or what we'd call an excessive heat watch. Anything that you see right there in the orange and the pink, and that does include a couple of our 4-state counties. Now, while ours are limited up to the north and northeast, do want everybody to know that, yeah, it's still going to be hot as all get out, just because we haven't had a string of this hot temperatures in the year 2022. Give you an idea of the heat dome that we've been talking about. The color contour points it out perfectly. It rides the jet stream all the way up almost to the Canadian border and then drops down here to the Atlantic coast. And so what we're talking about is, number one, just trying to stay safe and stay cool, because we don't have any rain to worry about. Now, that is a nice relief. Just having a little talk with our engineers about the amount of wind that we've had. Another blustery one today, really not calming down until we get to, say about Thursday, but Old Glory right there at the bottom of your screen just coming in and going to do so at 25 to 30 miles an hour today. By the time we get to the peak heating hours of the afternoon, remember, that's about 3 to 5:30 for this time of year. We're going to be pressing up into the low 90s, but factor in the humidity and whatnot. And yes, going to feel about like close to 100 degrees. Eventually, skies going to stay clear overnight. However, what that means is an extremely warm start to tomorrow. So coming up here in just a little bit, Tanya, let's talk a little bit about our wind. Also, too, the warnings, cooling centers. Yeah, I know you've got more news on that. But also, too, how about some record-breaking temperatures?
All right. I know you like talking about records.
I'm sorry to do so.
Yeah, it is what it is. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, with these high temps, it's important not to stay outside for too long to avoid health issues like heat stroke. To help, the city of Joplin opened cooling stations to the public, and these locations include City Hall, the City Health Department, the Dr. Donald Clark Public Safety Center, and the Joplin Athletic Center. The cooling centers are open from 8 to 5 on weekdays. Now, work is progressing on the Range Line Bridge project in Joplin, which means a major traffic shift is about to happen. And that shift could impact more than just your drive. KOAM's Chris Warner has more.
A year ago, we told you about the project to replace the railroad bridge on South Range Line in Joplin. Work is underway, and on July 18th, this portion of Range Line will be closed.
Then it'll be closed up to 87 days. And right now, we're finalizing some of the permitting with the railroad, moving the last couple of utilities.
87 days is a long time, but MoDOT is offering incentives and penalties to the contractor to keep the project on schedule.
Yeah, if they go beyond the 87-day range, it's $20,000 per day for each day they go over. And there's also an incentive at $20,000 per day for each day they finish early.
The bridge itself is just no longer able to support the volume of traffic it sees.
Yeah, the bridge it's an old bridge. It sees a lot of traffic. It's in poor shape. It's becoming more and more of a maintenance issue for us to keep it going. And so the time comes when it becomes more financially responsible to just go ahead and replace the bridge and to keep doing maintenance, constant maintenance on it.
Stephen St. Clair is the president of Import Warehouse. A year ago, he had concerns about the project and the impact it could have on his business, and those concerns are still there.
You know, about 90% of my business comes from the northern end of Joplin, Webb City, Carthage, Carterville area, Carl Junction. So it's going to be a big impact. Hopefully they're going to let me have some access to the street in front of me, but people are just going to have to learn how to loop around and detour to me.
Detours will be posted for traffic along Missouri 249 from 7th to 32nd. For St. Clair, that detour is in the wrong direction.
There's no easy way, unless you know Joplin. You know, Connecticut or Davis Boulevard are your two options, but it is going to be difficult. We do have plans with our advertisement to kind of help show people from out of town how to get to us.
St. Clair adds they've made other changes beyond advertising ahead of the closure.
It's going to affect business. I mean, we're doing our parts. We've kind of slowed down on some of our orders, anticipating it.
St. Clair says he understands the project is important and must be done. He just wishes there were easier ways to do it. In Joplin, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
MoDOT says the road is scheduled to reopen November 1st ahead of the holiday shopping season, although some cosmetic work may be left to finish. That's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on KOAM News at noon, a bear market.
All eyes are on the stock market after a big sell-off on Monday. I'm Michael George on Wall Street with how it could impact your pocketbook.
And later, we're making an icebox salad in the Mr. Food Test kitchen. From Main Street to Wall Street, Americans are watching to see if the stock markets rebound. Today, after all three major indexes tanked on Monday. Michael George has the latest from Wall Street.
Stocks opened higher this morning following a big sell-off on Monday. The S&P 500 began the day in bear market territory, down more than 20% from its peak.
Consumers feel less confident today than they did amid the worst part of COVID.
CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger says soaring inflation and the likelihood of more interest rate hikes are pushing investors to sell their stocks.
The Federal Reserve has to thread this needle. They want to slow down the pace of inflation. But by raising interest rates, what's happening is they could actually tip us into a recession if they go too far, too fast.
If the Fed doesn't raise rates, inflation could keep rising. Right now, gas is at more than $5 a gallon. Food prices are up 10% in the last year, and the cost of travel up 38%. With the market tumble, millions of Americans who have their retirement savings tied to a stock-based 401k account are asking what to do about it. Some we spoke with say they've been through this before.
You know, it's the people who are younger who really start to worry. My only concern is how long this will last. Will it last until the time when we have to start taking money out?
Many financial advisors urge their clients not to sell when the markets are low, especially if the money inside the 401k won't be needed for years to come. Michael George, CBS News, Wall Street.
Jill Schlesinger says a silver lining for falling stocks is that the investors who buy now are getting in at low levels, and that could pay off when the markets rebound. Still to come on the KOAM News at noon, Mr. Food.
As soon as the sign-up sheet goes out for the next church supper or potluck, we've got just a thing to jot down next to your name that'll win you rave reviews.
But first, Michael Aislip returns with your complete forecast.
Already set one record coming off of late last night. We call it the warmest low of June the 13th. And what that means is we take that lowest temperature from that day and it actually eclipsed the lowest temperature previously that we had as far as being on the warm side. Just think about the scale opposite end. We talk about, record lows and whatnot, but sometimes You've got a low that's so warm that you pay attention to it, and we call that the warmest low. And yesterday only bottomed out at 79 degrees at Joplin Regional Airport. Dates back to the record of 1958, and we've got a chance that we're going to break a warmest low record again tonight that goes back to 1981. Here we stand at 7th and Rangeline in Joplin. You can see the heat waves coming off the asphalt. 88 degrees is where we stand, blustery as well, still coming in from the south in between 15 to 20 miles per hour. We're just a skosh down from yesterday. Yesterday we had a couple 90s already on the board. Chanute's our clubhouse leader, sitting right now at 89. Let's roll 88 in Lamar and in Carthage, 86. It's actually cooler down to the south in Miami and in Grove, but the humidity and wind there will kick in today, gusting up to 30 miles per hour. Those are sustained winds we're talking about right now, 24 miles per hour at Martin Johnson Airport in Chanute. We've been having a lot of conversations about this Midwest heat wave, and I'll tell you what, this is interesting right here. It's not only the heat, but yes, I'm going to say it, it's also the humidity, because look at the precipitable water bubble that comes in off the Gulf, traces itself all the way up to the Canadian border, over to the northeast, and then down to the southeastern portion of the United States. Get out here into western Kansas, get out here into the panhandles, and that humidity is not so much a factor. Well, look exactly what the temperature contour does with that as well. We can almost trace the precipitable water category as far as where our hotter temperatures are, and it's got the same cutoff that rides right along that jet stream. And so what that jet is doing is grabbing that Gulf moisture, forcing all that heat and humidity up to the northern plains. 92 right now in Minneapolis. They will not know what to do with themselves, and that's why we've got some 80 million people in the midst of either excessive heat warnings or heat advisories, which is what we have for our far northern and northeastern counties. You'll also notice the expiration time there. Notice how that extends all the way until Wednesday evening. We went ahead and skipped ahead, and just know that that's going to exist tomorrow, and not going to be surprised if we don't have additional counties with heat advisories for tomorrow as well. As far as our Skywatch storm tracker goes, no clouds, no precipitation. One thing we will keep our eyes on throughout the course of this week, now that we are in hurricane season, we've got tropical storm out in the eastern Pacific. They are already on the letter B. That will be Tropical Storm Blaze right now, expected to become a Category 1 hurricane. But also, too, the positive nature of this is you can see how it spins off toward the west and shouldn't pose any threat to land, even along the Mexican coast. Back to the contiguous 48. Severe thunderstorm risk map for the upper plains down to the Atlantic coast into the deep southeastern portion of the United States. Doesn't affect us at all. We just got to be safe with the heat. Remember, Tanya has been telling us at KOAMnewsnow.com, KOAMnewsnow.com, a complete list of cooling centers across the 4 states, and special thanks to our cities and counties who have established those for our vulnerable populations. The Muggy meter, it's not just today that we're thinking about cooling centers, it's all the way through the rest of the week. We find ourselves in that oppressive category up until Father's Day. Now, the wind does get a little better, Tanya, on Thursday and Friday. The humidity, however, does not. And our temperatures remain in the 90s up until the beginning of next week.
And you have a little bit of chance of rain towards the end of the week, but I mean, 20,
so those are going to be like
20 and 10.
Those are going to be, think more like, this almost reminds me of what we get in July into August. You know, the sporadic pop-ups, skies get dark really fast, rains for 20 minutes, see a flash of lightning and it's gone. Mm-hmm. Thank you for bringing that up. That's about what that will equivocate to this week.
Nothing to really mess up your plans.
No, and not
sure.
Widespread, and no cold front on the backside of it.
If anything, it might get rid of some of the dust that's going to be blowing around.
This, and we were talking about flooding for the past month and a half.
True.
I know.
True. I was on the ball field last night, and I was watching it blow into the kids'
face
there already.
Yeah.
It only took a couple days to
all
dry
our
out.
county roads, you can tell when anybody's coming. You can just see it billowing up.
There's no happy medium. All right. Thanks, Michael. We take this time to honor today's 4-state hero, William McCauley in the U.S. Navy. St. Paul, Kansas native fought in Vietnam from 1961 to 1969. He earned a number of honors, including the Engineering Efficiency Award, the Armed Forces Expeditionary Medal for the Dominican Republic operation, and the Good Conduct Medal. To William McCauley, we thank you, our 4-state hero. Next time you've got company coming over, whip up today's easy icebox salad and get ready for the oohs and ahs. Howard puts it together in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
This is the time of year when you can count on two things. Spring flowers are going to be in full bloom, and sure as the sun will rise tomorrow, many of us are going to be invited to a potluck dinner. And whether that dinner is at church, a neighbor's house, or we're the ones hosting it, we have a dish that's always the first to go. We start off by placing some cut up lettuce in a large glass bowl or a trifle dish. Now on top of that goes a layer of red bell peppers. Over that we place some chopped red onion, a layer of frozen peas that we've thawed, and some cut up celery. For the best part, we spoon on a mixture we made by combining some mayonnaise with a bit of sour cream and garlic powder, and top that with a generous amount of shredded cheddar. We'll repeat the layers one more time, top it with some bacon, chill it, and it's ready to serve. And not only is this pretty to look at, it's downright tasty. What makes it so good is how each layer complements the others, creating almost a symphony of flavor. So here's what I suggest. Go online and get the recipe for our icebox salad. This way, as soon as the sign-up sheet for the next potluck or church dinner gets posted, you can jot this down right next to your name. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a pretty and tasty way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Here's a look at our 4-state market prices.
Hovering right around the 90-degree mark now, so we'll top out around 93 this afternoon. Remember, even though our heat advisories are tempered back only for our north and northeastern counties, it's still going to be hot and humid everywhere. KOAMnewsnow.com, a complete list of cooling centers that are opened up around the 4 states. Please take advantage of those. Check on your neighbors, make sure your pets are good, and special thanks to our counties and cities that have aware of this situation. And it's like it's time to open them right now, even though it's the middle of June.
Yeah, for sure. What do we have coming up tonight at 5?
Well, at 5, a new study looks into recent reports of people dealing with rebound COVID-19 symptoms after taking the antiviral drug Paxlovid. We're going to check out the results in Health Watch. Plus, 988 will become the national phone number for any mental health crisis beginning next month. And the Ozark Center is going to be one of 200 original call centers. Plus, a mock crash in Pittsburgh sends a hard-hitting reminder of the dangers behind the wheel. Hope you'll join us for those stories. A lot more, of course. KOAM News at 5.
All right. Thank you, Dal. Thanks for joining us for KOAM News at Noon. We'll see you right back here at 5 o'clock.